You are listening to the Mental Money Podcast. Thank you for coming back. If you are returning, if this is your first time, then this is the best episode to get on your first time. We're going to be talking about strategy. Shabranae is the CEO and founder of Anchored Inc. The reason why we're speaking with her today is because she is, I think, one of the voices that we should hear from as far as the ability to exist in the nonprofit and for-profit space seamlessly, right? So thank you, Shabranae, for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate you for sure.
Okay. Shameless plug. Shabranae is also one of our community members. Yay. Right. So I was wanting to interview more people from our community, not only to spotlight what you guys do, but kind of walk through strategy, right? Because I don't think a lot of people understand what really goes into all of this. I see online there's a lot of interest, but once it comes to like putting in that commitment, um, that's where the numbers start to fall. So
Yeah.
I wanted to get inside voices speaking about like how they've won, how they've strategized, how they've been able to put these pieces together to make sustainable businesses. Because as we know, businesses usually fail within the first year. You've made it past that. So again, leading voice on this. So Shabranae, tell us a little bit about your company, who you serve, and what it is that you do.
Yeah, of course. So, Anchored Inc. has been in business since 2019 officially.
Okay.
We actually started planning for Anchored Inc. in 2018, but we didn't actually pull the trigger on actually incorporating our business and all of that until 2019.
Okay.
So, Anchored Inc. actually came about in a very non traditional way, I would
Mhm.
say.
Okay.
It came about just in response to my own personal traumas that I had experienced.
Mhm.
Um, and as I was trying to kind of pull myself out of the mud, so to speak, it was one of those moments of I can I can attempt to go about life and go about things as as if what just happened didn't just happen.
Mhm.
Um, I could sink into victimhood,
Right.
or I could take the experiences that I had just experienced and figure out how I could change the narrative from being a victim to being a survivor. And
Mm,
so that's how Anchored Inc. was born.
okay.
Um, and so as a result, um, I created a boutique that provides post trauma care resources for
Mm,
survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and exploitation. Three things that I had personally experienced. Um,
okay.
but what I didn't want to do when I created it was for it to just be the give back, right?
Mhm.
Most people would look at that and say, oh, it's a nonprofit, it's a charity, that's good, fine, and wonderful. Nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
But we wanted to take it a step further, right? When we are providing those post trauma care resources to survivors, we want them to become survivors and stay survivors. And so
Mm,
we built our business in a way that it transitioned from just giving back to where not only are we giving back, but we're setting survivors up for the future as well through social impact entrepreneurship.
right.
And so our business transitioned from what was seen initially as a nonprofit only
Mhm.
to now we are more of a social enterprise than
Okay.
just a nonprofit.
Okay.
And so we've now been in business. We're going on 5 years at
Right.
May this year. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's beautiful. So I love the fact that you're really clear on what you do and who you serve because as we know, like going through some of these applications as it relates to business, that's something that they definitely ask a lot. But I also love even more that you took what was something that easily could have been life altering and transformed it into something that could serve others, which is ultimately how you elaborate on the social impact. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm,
Like for me, it was one of those situations I had helped people in this space before.
mhm,
I've been in the industry of human trafficking, I would say, for
mhm,
over 10 years. in terms of being a supportive advocate.
Mhm.
Um, but what I saw in that 10 years of me being an advocate is that um, there was a space that was
Mhm.
missing.
Mhm.
Um, you had the space of people just donating, which is
Yeah.
great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? But what happens to the survivor after you
That's right.
donate?
Right, yeah.
What's their next step? How do they keep moving forward? And so I saw that breakdown in the system. And
Mhm.
after experiencing those traumas myself, it was like that in that moment, like light
Yeah,
bulb,
yeah.
be the person that's going to create the transition. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of the story of how we are where we are now is because we went from just seeing the problem to seeing
Mhm.
the problem, creating a solution for the problem, and then
Mhm.
acting out the solution for the problem.
Yeah. No, I love that. So I retired a speech that I used to give, but I think you're the third time I've thought maybe I need to take that speech out of retirement, and this is the third time I thought that, and it was a speech I used to give called "Problem?" question mark solve it, comma then profit, right?
Yeah.
Because we think that help just means that it has to be charity, which I love that you're not in just a charity space, that it could also very much be a for-profit solution. So with
Oh
that
yeah.
being said, like I get comments all the time that says, I need help, I need help, I need help. How do you qualify and quantify help from like the space that you're sitting in right now?
Um, that's a multifaceted question.
Mhm.
More so because you have to take that time as an entrepreneur to say what exactly do I need help with.
Mhm.
Um, that's one of those, I got to sit down and have a conversation with myself. And most times, people say, "Oh, she's talking to herself." That's the
Mhm.
best. That's the best person you can talk to
Yeah.
when you're dealing with things like this.
Mhm.
Um, and so, sitting down with yourself and saying to yourself, "What's the end goal?" First
Mhm.
and foremost, what are you trying to get to in the end?
Right.
And then work your way backwards from the
Mhm.
end goal. Right? If I need to make $1 million, right? Okay,
Yeah.
fine. How are we going to make $900,999?
Yeah, first, right.
And so on and so forth, right? We're moving backwards at that point. And so for me, if people come to me and say, "Oh, I need help," because people have done it before, I've
Right.
mentored a couple of people through this space,
Right.
and they come and say, "Oh, I need help." Okay, well, what do you need help with?
Right.
I want to do this. Why do you want to do this?
Mhm.
Well, it's like, okay, if you want help, right, you have to be able to quantify why you need that help.
Right.
What exactly is it that you're seeing that you need help with? If
Mhm.
I ask you, you know, why do you need $1 million, and all you can tell me is um, I want to save the whales. Okay, how are you going to save them?
Yeah.
What exactly are you going to do to save them? Why do they need saving?
Right.
There are so many questions that come into that. And so for me, in the space that I'm in, when people come to me and ask me for help, I'm going to take you down a list of things that you need to ask yourself before you ask me for help.
Right. No, for sure. And even in the charity space, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of us think that help is just, just kind of like almost in being able to figure out somebody's the solution for someone else's problem. Do
Hmm.
you use that same framework when you're doing your charity work as well?
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
And I say yes and no because when I'm doing the work that I do in terms of the charity side of what I do,
Mhm.
I know the issue.
Mm,
I personally have experienced the issue.
right.
And so for me, I'm walking into that charity space as a SME at that point,
Mm,
right? Subject matter expert. I'm walking into it saying, this is the issue. I know that this is the issue because I've experienced this issue.
mm,
Now, when I'm in that space, that doesn't mean other problems that people may be experiencing don't arise, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's in those moments where we might figure out, oh, there's something that we don't know that we can be of assistance to. That's when we expand our offerings and we expand what we have available to make sure that we're incorporating everyone who's needing assistance in that space, not just the individuals who we walked into that space to be of assistance to.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it's really going to be a situation of um, come in knowing what you know, right? Don't come in just completely oblivious. Come in knowing what you know, but at the same time, be ready to be of assistance in an area that you don't know that
Right.
actually could expand your business or product offering.
Yeah. No, for sure. So back to the social enterprises, I love the fact that again that you have that framework because it's it's almost a message that you can help others and still help yourself too. So what have you gotten personally and professionally from using that social enterprise kind of like um integration to make your business run?
Um, I think personally for me, like I said, in the space that I'm in it specifically, um, it has given me the confidence to say I am not just a victim or I'm a survivor. This is
Right.
how you can tell that I am a survivor, right? I'm moving forward. And not only am I moving forward, I'm moving forward in a way that's beneficial to myself, but also beneficial to others.
Right.
Um, so that's my personal side of it.
Right.
But in terms of business, being able to transition in between these two spaces of I'm giving back to community and at the same time I'm creating opportunity for growth and impact and expansion for others for their future.
Yeah.
Um, it puts me in two different spaces.
Mhm.
Um, where outside individuals who are looking to be a part of my endeavors, they see the growth of the business side. And
Mm,
then for outside organizations who are saying, oh man, I want to support that, they
mm,
see the social impact side of
yeah.
what it is I'm doing. And so what ends up happening is that I get support from two different avenues,
Yeah.
never have to change what it is that I'm doing specifically because of how I came into it in the first place.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been an amazing opportunity to not only connect with philanthropy, right, and those who tend to want to fund more on the side of philanthropy, but at
Right.
the same time, I'm also getting you know, aspects of the business side of things to where people say, "Oh,
Mm,
that's something I can really invest in because that's going to grow my business too." And so
right.
I get to see it from two different aspects, but I'm also growing at the same time from two different aspects.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, down to the grant applications, right? When
Mhm.
you're filling out these grant applications, how do you position your business outside of, like, the social enterprise element? How do you approach an application where you are demonstrating that you're social enterprise and that, um, it is a for-profit organization and that you
Yeah.
have a philanthropic element to it?
Yeah. So early, I would say 2022, no, 2021. In
Mhm,
2021, um, I went on a television show
mhm,
and it's called Entrepreneur Elevator Pitch. It's
okay,
basically the same thing as Shark Tank, but
mhm,
the magazine Entrepreneur puts it out.
mhm,
And so I went on this television show and I went there, they called me up on the elevator because whatever my pitch was, it was interesting enough for them to call me up on the elevator.
mhm,
And in that time span, while I was in there, it was 5 different investors there. And they all loved what it was that I was doing. They
mhm.
loved the fact that I was giving back, but
Yeah,
At the same time, they didn't see, because I didn't know how to articulate it, how that was going to make them money,
Right.
because I didn't know how to articulate it at that time.
Right.
So, even though I was doing it right,
Hmm.
I was actually generating revenue at the time,
Yes.
everything. I just didn't know how to articulate it.
Yeah.
And so it was that kind of moment of, okay, I got to craft this elevator pitch to
Mm.
where people understand, yes, this is philanthropy in action, but at the same time, we're making money at the same time too.
Right.
And so now when I go into these grant applications, my first statements are, we are a social impact venture, right?
Mm.
That's like the first thing that I say to them,
Yeah.
um, when I'm applying for these applications. So they know off top, yes, this is social impact, but it's also financially viable at the same time. So
I love that.
that's like one of my first statements when I'm putting in these applications.
Okay.
Uh, and then from there, I let them know the product side or the retail side of what it is that I do. And then I immediately connect it to the philanthropy side of what it is that I do.
Hmm.
And so what ends up happening is when they look at my application, um, I can't say this specifically, but this is kind of what I entail that they
Yeah.
do based on how
Yeah.
many grants we've received.
Mm.
um, it's a I'm touching your feelings
Mm.
and I'm touching your money mind
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And when your feelings and your emotions connect to your logical side of making money,
Hmm.
it's kind of hard to get
Yeah.
past that. Even
Hmm.
as even as a person who is going to give you grant funding, or they're going to be a venture capitalist, whatever it may be, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to get past that when you are touching two very specific parts of that person, whoever's reading that application.
Yeah.
It's hard to get past that,
Yeah.
because now you are pulling on their heartstrings,
Mhm.
and you're also at the same time appealing to their monetary intellect. And
Right.
so that's like the first thing that I go into when I put in these applications. Like, you need to know who I am, why I do what I do, and let's move forward from there.
Right. So you own the business and you are a director for the nonprofit. How do let's say someone wanted to know, like we actually just went through the what grant was that we went to today? The NASDAQ Foundation one, right? So
Yeah.
you would apply for that as a
Mhm.
nonprofit, right? With a for-profit um element to it. Would you apply as the director of the nonprofit and then mention your for-profit element, or how would you kind of approach that?
So, because it's specifically geared towards nonprofits, I'm
Mhm.
automatically going to fall on that side of my business.
Mhm.
So, when I'm applying for grants that are specifically for 501(c)(3)s or nonprofits, things like that, I'm coming from the executive director side
Mhm.
of my credentials, which is the nonprofit side of my business.
Mhm.
Um, However, when we transition into the space of how are we going to give a ROI or a return on investment, even inside of that nonprofit atmosphere. And
Right.
that's kind of when I transition into my CEO hat of the
Mhm.
retail for profit side of my business. But the initial application phase of like today's NASDAQ, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm speaking as the executive director of the
Okay.
nonprofit, because the grant in itself is specifically catered to nonprofits. And then later on in the application, when it starts to ask, questions, relating to how are you going to make money and how are you going to sustain, and how that's when I transitioned into letting them know we are also, we have our for-profit side of our business in
Mm.
which we quantify and break down like this is how we're making money at the same time.
Right. No, that makes sense. So, do you ever think of, or have you ever given thought to maybe becoming a B Corp instead of having a nonprofit and for profit side since they're governed so differently?
Oh yeah. So when we started back in 2019, B Corp wasn't an option.
Hmm.
It was state specific, and in our state, we're in Massachusetts, and
Hmm.
so it wasn't even an option for us at the time to move into that space.
Okay.
So for us, we took, I would say, the antique way, and so we started the nonprofit, and at the same time, we created the second entity as well. But they are
Mm.
both connected. But in this space, now that it is available, I would
Hmm.
definitely go the benefit corporate position,
Yeah.
just because it's less paperwork that you would have to do to
Hmm.
versus running two separate entities. Even
Yeah.
though they're very much connected, they're still two separate entities. So we have to do paperwork for two separate entities.
Right.
But I would definitely go the B Corp route if it was an
Mhm.
option for me to do it back in 2019.
Right.
Um, Doing the benefit corp, it's literally the same thing as what it is that I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
just less
Yeah.
paperwork because you're only
Yeah.
dealing with one filing.
Right.
Um, but the benefit corp is going to do the exact same thing, right? You're going to appeal to people on the philanthropy side of things, and at the
Mhm.
same time, you're going to appeal to people who are on the the business endeavor side.
Right. So, sorry. I heard a noise in the house. All right. So, you when you get paid, you donate the funds, or your company, the for profit, donates to the nonprofit.
So two different entities, right? So we
Mhm.
have to you have to look at it in that way, right? So, for example, when people purchase items from the for-profit side of our business, which is the retail side of our business, right?
Mhm.
When that money comes into our account, a portion of that money is separated from that account and it goes into the nonprofit side of the business, automatically funding that side of our business, right?
Mm.
Now, for us, the way we have it set up, and this is not for everybody, so you can structure this how it best fits your business model. But
Mhm.
for us, we're not necessarily in a position to where we say we're going to just donate money, right?
Mm.
The reason that's not a part of our model per se is because of the reason we started in the first place.
Mm.
I saw the specific needs of what was missing, right?
Yeah.
And me personally, I can't trust that the money that I send to any one organization is going to go towards exactly the thing that I know is missing.
Right.
So instead of us saying, oh, every time somebody donates, every time somebody purchases an item from us, we're going to donate $5. Instead
Mhm.
of us putting a monetary value on it, we took the work of it to say, every time you purchase something from Anchor Inc., we are going to create post trauma care packages for the national and local safe homes that we work with, right? And those items that come into those care packages, we're using that funding from the business side to fund the care packages that we are then donating to
Mhm.
the different organizations that we work with.
Okay.
Um, so, and that's not to say that, if you want to say, oh, 20% of my income goes to, whatever you want to donate it to, right? That's fine. But for me, like I said, my situation is personal. My business is personal to me. My venture is personal to me. My nonprofit is personal to me, right? Um, and it's worked out for us, to be completely honest with you, because it's hard for people to quantify and really get to the heart of a matter. I
Right.
personally think it's hard for you to get to the heart of the matter if you're not actually doing the work of the matter. For us, like I said, my business and my business model is personal to me because I want to make sure that the funds that I'm donating are
Yeah.
actually going to the very thing that I want them to go towards.
Okay.
And the only way for me to make sure that that's the case is if I put in the work.
Got you.
Um, and so for us, like I said, it's not a problem that people do that, right? 20% of my proceeds go to whatever, foundation, right? There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. But for Anchored Inc., it was more beneficial for us to
Mhm.
be the actual resource that we wanted to be.
Right.
Um, and to be honest with you, at the same time, that's what makes us different from other
Right.
people. It's what
Right.
makes our business model different from others. And at the same time, it's what makes funders and different organizations and foundations look at us and say, oh, they really are putting in the work. Let me drop a couple of thousand on them, kind of thing.
Right.
And
Right.
so, um, yeah, like for us, it's about putting in the work at the same time as making money.
You make a profit, you donate some of those funds to the nonprofit, but your nonprofit then turns around and takes those funds and creates the care packages for the locations to where they're going, or the people that they're serving. Are the care packages are made with your products?
Yes, we incorporate our products, and if there are any products that we don't make, for example, feminine hygiene products, we don't make tampons, pads, and all that kind of stuff. So we incorporate those items as we need to.
So your nonprofit buys back from your business.
Yeah,
That's genius. I'm sorry. That is that.
yeah,
And this is
it is.
legal. Of
It
course,
is.
of course.
It
I'm not,
is.
giving illegal
Yeah,
advice, but
absolutely.
yeah,
For
that's
us, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, how do we connect the two as seamlessly as possible while doing what we need to do, right?
right.
And so, yeah, even with the grants that we put out, we tell them when they ask us, where's the money going? Oh, well, 25% of it is going to go and restock the inventory that we need to put into the care packages. 25% of it is going to go towards um, we need updates to our website, whatever the case may be. Like we tell them in advance, like
Right.
this is where money is going and this is what we need it for. Um,
Right.
and then for us, because I am the owner of anchoring the retail side, I get to
Mhm.
determine who I purchase my items from. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm also at the same time the executive director of anchoring the nonprofit side. And as the executive director of that side, I get to determine who I'm going to get my care package information from, right? Because they're two separate entities. So yeah,
Right. It doesn't matter.
they matter.
That's that's a major, major key, like major key. And
The key is that
I
is a
hope that didn't
major
go over
key.
anybody's head. Yeah.
It's a major key, but you also have to make sure that you are keeping strategic records so
Oh,
that
oh
people
yeah.
are not looking at it saying, "Oh, she's this and she's no." I can
Mhm.
quantify and break down to you every single dollar to the penny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's what I was
yeah,
gonna ask you next. Like, what does that look like bookkeeping wise? Because I know your bookkeeping has to be
yeah, it's
the best
crazy.
bookkeeping I've ever seen on this side of the
It's
Mississippi.
crazy, but it's good though. It's good though because
Yeah.
we have it broken down. So the way our bookkeeping is set up, right? We have Anchored Ink Boutique on one
Mhm.
side, and then we have Anchored Ink Foundation on the other side. And we literally
Mhm.
have it broken down all the way to the most minuscule thing of what it is needed for both sides. And then we take
Yeah.
the money we get and we divvy it between the two
Right.
all the way down the line.
So how intensive would you say it is to run a nonprofit?
Um, Initially, it's very
Mhm.
intense initially, um, because you have to. There's so much legwork that goes into it.
Mhm.
You have to not only, get it up and running, get your board of directors,
Mhm.
um, make sure all your paperwork is filed correctly. You have to do all
Yeah.
of that just on the initial side of things.
Mhm.
The monthly meetings or quarterly meetings, however you're setting up the meetings for your board of directors.
Mhm.
Um, and then at the same time, you got to be out there making relationship connections. Um, so initially, it's very, very intense because
Mhm.
you have to put in a lot of work,
Yeah.
unless you're coming into it having already made all of those connections and all of that. For us, we
Right.
didn't know nobody. So when we came into it, we had to hit the ground running, in terms
Mhm.
of making the connections. And so that's the most intense side of it. I would say between 2019 and 2020, those 2 years, that was like the super crazy intense side of things,
Mhm.
because we were trying to get out there. We were trying to get our face out there. We were trying to get our name out there, trying to
Mhm.
show people what it is that we're trying to do, while also doing what we're supposed to be doing in terms of making the care packages and all of that. So it was
Right.
pretty intense for the first couple of years. But now that we've been in it for a while. Um, People know who we are. We've made
Mhm.
so many connections, to where
Good.
now it's not necessarily us going out and making connections, it's people contacting
Mhm.
us to make connections.
Mhm.
So putting in the work initially, I would
It's a
say it's a
lot.
little intense. But once
Mhm.
you get over that part, right,
Mhm.
um, it's not so bad.
Right. No, of course. I'm glad you said that because I don't want people going and running with this strategy, and then next thing you know, they're just like, "I can't run." You're technically running 2 businesses.
Yeah, technically, you are at the same
Yeah.
time. And because
Yeah.
they're so closely connected, you can't let one fall under the
Without it
without
impacting the other.
without it impacting the other. So you definitely have to be ready for that. Which is, I can
Mhm.
tell you right now, in 2019, I had no idea what I was stepping into. So that's
Mm.
a little caveat for y'all. I had no idea what I was stepping into. I didn't know everything that was about to happen. Um, People probably thought I was crazy when I came out with this. But yeah, like I knew what I wanted. I knew what I needed to
Right.
do and I knew what my end goal was. And I was ready for the smoke. If you're not ready for that,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like if you're not ready for
Right.
all of the things, like if
Right.
you're the person who says, I'm stressed out easily and I, you know, I break down easily. Listen,
Right.
this is not for the weak at heart. I will tell you that. It
Mhm.
is not for the weak at heart. Um, but at the same time, it's doable. And
Right.
we did it by ourselves. My husband and I, we did it by ourselves. We had no support. We had no one's help. We had no business mentors, none of that stuff. We literally got on Google and figured it out and did it ourselves. So when we say started from the bottom, now we here, yeah,
You
for
mean
real,
that. Yeah, yeah. Now you
for real,
mean that. That's
we really
yeah,
mean
yeah, yeah.
it.
Yeah, you
Versus,
sing that song with a really
listen,
different yeah, with a really different pump in your chest. I feel it.
yeah, like
Yeah,
for
let them
real.
know something.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of people, they walk into these businesses and they have business mentors and they have, a million followers already, and nobody knew who we were.
Yeah.
Nobody. We moved to Massachusetts in 2018, and we met with the then mayor of Boston December of 2018. Like that's how hard I hit the ground running with trying to make connections.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, which the crazy part about that is that the mayor in 2018 of Boston became the financial person to President Biden. Um, so yeah, having those kind of connections is crazy. But
Yeah.
that's a part of hitting the ground running and making,
Yeah.
making moves. And so
Right.
I tell anybody who comes to me and wants assistance, I don't mind helping people. Um,
Hmm.
I'm definitely that person because nobody helped me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I know how
Right.
hard it can be. But at the same
Hmm.
time, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. It's work. It is
It's
work.
work. Yeah.
But as long as you know it's work and you're willing to do the work, just like you be
Yeah.
telling people, like, hey, come in and do the work.
Coming into the work. That's all.
Come in and do the work. That's all. You'll make it.
What would you say? What would you say your approach is to networking? Because I think I'm glad that you're saying this, but I don't think a lot of people have like really a framework for what it means to connect with others. Like when you're going to these events, because I know you're always at an event, I know you're building relationships, right? What is the premise of the relationship? What's the basis of the relationship? How are you approaching it? What are you saying? Like, how are you moving through these spaces where you can go from zero, like nothing, knowing no one, to in a few months knowing the mayor of the entire city? Like, what's that? What does that look like conceptually?
So there's a couple of parts to that, but I would
Okay.
say the most important, right, is one, you need to know what it is that what you offer,
Hmm.
right? The first thing that I learned moving in and out of these spaces, and I'm one of those people, if I don't know you or if I don't know the space that I'm in, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to peep the scene, right?
Right.
And I'm going to make sure I understand what moves are being made around me.
Hmm.
And one thing that I saw early on is that when you walk into these spaces, you have to be able to offer something. You can't walk into those spaces and say, give me, can I
Yeah.
have? That's not
Yeah.
how it works. You have to
Mm-mm.
walk into that space knowing that you have something to offer to the point to
Yeah.
where when they walk up to you and they say, hi, my name is such and such. Who are you? I'm Shabranae Patton and I'm the owner and founder of Anchor Inc. We are a
Mhm.
socially conscious organization that offers
Mhm.
post-trauma care to victims and survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and exploitation.
Right.
And at the same time,
Right.
we have our organization built to where we're also providing organic skincare to conscious
Mhm.
consumers. Right. At this point,
Right.
I didn't ask you for anything.
Nothing. Not a thing. I love it.
I didn't
Yeah, I
ask you
love
for
it.
anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
came in the
Mhm.
room. You asked me who I was, and I told you who I was.
Right.
At this point, you either want to talk to me because you see connection in what I just said,
Mhm.
um, or you see benefit in how what I just said can benefit you.
Right.
Um, it's kind of a situation where you don't walk into it saying, "I need, I need, I need." It's more of a
Mhm.
situation where I learned that you walk into the situation, into the room, and you say, "I have."
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
And people who want to get close to what you have, or um can align in some way with what you have, will go ahead and plug the pieces in
Yeah,
themselves
they'll plug it in
because you have.
themselves. Yeah,
Right.
you don't have
Mm.
to. You don't even have to dig deep in that moment, right? And this
Right.
is something that I learned with that whole elevator pitch situation. Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to
Mhm.
dig deep. Just know who you are and what it is that you offer. The people who
Yeah.
need to be next to you, the people who, you're going to get some anything from or out of, or, whatever the case may
Yeah.
be, even if that's just knowing them, right?
Yeah.
Because not everything is monetary necessarily. Sometimes it's who you know, as in my specific instance, like I just said. I know the
Yeah.
mayor
Mhm.
of Boston from 2018 who was Marty Walsh, who is, as of 2023, I think it was 2020, yeah, 2022, he was the top finance person for the United States of America.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Right, right, right. Yeah,
How high
drop that
can
name.
you get?
Go ahead.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
How much higher can you get?
Right, exactly. Because
So
you've done
yeah,
the legwork to get to know those people and build that relationship and came clear with your offering, what you could
absolutely.
do,
And I never
period. Not
asked
even what
them
you
for
could do for
anything. I
never.
never asked
Right.
them for anything ever. I never asked.
Mm,
So
that's
it's one of
incredible.
those situations where that's what I'm gonna first tell you. Like when it comes to networking and all of that, don't walk into any space thinking, "What can I get? What can I get? What can I get?" It's what can
Mhm.
I give. And if you're a
Yeah,
nonprofit, if you're a B Corp, the whole premise of you is giving.
yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
are in general. You're giving. You're
mm,
a giver, right?
yeah,
Give. Just give
yeah,
them
give.
information. Give them the information.
That's wild. No, I love that because that's the whole point. So just so we can summarize, and I have a couple more questions for you, but just to
Yeah, of
summarize,
course.
you walked into business, no connections, no idea. It took a year to plan out your business and what you were going to offer. Eventually offered it, decided that you were going to do a nonprofit and for-profit element. Your for-profit donates to your nonprofit buys back from your for-profit into this nice little growth loop. And then because of that, you get to build network, a community, build networks, build relationships with people in order to help, I'm assuming, donate to also your nonprofit and build relationships that will allow you to get more revenue for your for profit. And then when you're applying to these grants, you're making sure that they understand that this is a profitable venture, and that experience with the pitch definitely framed how you move forward. It marked you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Marked how you move forward in these
absolutely.
applications and these people. And now here we are today. So what do you see for Anchored Inc. and the Anchored Inc. Boutique and the Anchored Inc. Foundation?
Oh yeah. So we have a whole game plan. Um,
Okay.
the funny thing about our game plan is this is what it was when we started in 2019. We just didn't
Mm.
give everybody the full insight of what it is that we were going to do because people
Mhm.
steal. So it's like,
I know. Yeah, I know.
you know what I mean? People steal. That's what people do.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we put the minimal amount of knowledge out there, but just enough to wet the beaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
And so now that we are in a place that we are in, we can kind of tell people more now. And when they
Mm,
understand the gravity of what it is that Anchored Inc. is as a whole, they're like, I gotta be a part. I gotta help with this. I gotta put in, right?
yeah.
So from 2020 until now, 2023, we've
Mhm.
amassed a little bit over $175,000 worth of grants.
Beautiful.
And that is from 10 different organizations, 10 different
Mhm.
organizations, right? Um,
Good.
and when we look at the trajectory, right, we're still on track to do an additional 45 or so $1,000 by the end of this year. Now, mind you, all of the money that I just said has nothing to do with the for profit side of my business.
Right.
This is all grant funding that has been
Mhm.
given to us. This has nothing to do with the revenue from our actual for profit side of our business. Okay.
Right.
And so, what this has allowed us to do is, um, I would say, fast track a little bit what we started
Mm.
out to do in 2019 in the first place, right? So the goal for Anchored Inc. was to do two things. It was always to
Okay.
do two things, right? Nonprofit side, supporting survivors, helping them, move their lives forward, right? At
Mhm.
the same
Right.
time, giving them the opportunity to not have to fall back on whatever it
Mm.
is that they were in prior, right? So the
Right.
way that this trajectory has worked out for Anchored Inc. is that we are now in the process of building a 40-acre safe home development community for survivors that houses them, gives them career development, while at the same time allowing them the opportunity to franchise Anchored Ink Boutique wherever they are located in their states, to where we are not only setting them up in terms of what their current needs are, but we are
Right.
also setting them up for their future financial needs in the future. And so we have our for profit business moving forward through the
Mhm.
franchisee, and then we have our nonprofit business moving forward through the first 40-acre development because we plan to have them wherever there is a franchisee at.
I got chills listening to hear you. I'm like, wow, that's genius.
It's a huge
Because who
endeavor,
else?
but
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, who else
why
but
not?
you to do? Right, right, right. Because you
Why
already
not?
have all of the pieces in place and the consumer is already primed to receive the support. Yeah, this is gonna be epic. I'm glad I know you, girl. I'm so
I'm glad I know
honored.
you.
Thank you for letting me breathe the same air as you, because
Nah,
that's epic. Like, I'm gonna. Oh, let me tell you something. When I see the magazines come, like, I know her. Yeah, no, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah,
yeah,
because your consumer is already primed for the support, and government is gonna be pouring money into this to keep it subsidized. Yeah,
yeah,
it's genius.
yeah. So we
I like
got the
it.
40 acres already. And we
Why
are now
40 acres?
discussing. So listen, not to get all,
Yeah, no,
but
no, get all, get all.
let me bring this home because this is a black woman talking to a black woman right now.
Mhm.
Our people didn't get what they were supposed to get. You see what I'm
Don't make me
saying?
cry. Don't make me cry
Um,
here.
they didn't get that 40 acres and a mule like they were supposed to
Mhm,
get it. You see what I'm
mhm.
saying? And
Yeah,
so while while I respect the fact that there are people out there pushing and fighting for,
yeah,
this government to do what it is that they
yeah.
were going to do or said that they were going to do,
Mhm,
I personally have witnessed. I'm 38, so I
mm.
personally have witnessed the fact that people don't always do what they say they're gonna do.
Yep.
But at the same time, if I can do, why not do? And
Mm.
so for me, it was one of those situations where we have the space, we have the
Yeah,
land. What's the point of just sitting on it? I can't live on 40 acres of land
yeah. Right.
personally, just me by myself. I can't live on 40
Mhm.
acres of land. But what I can do is take a portion of that 40 acres and turn it into something that's going to benefit my people and the people who need my services, right?
Right.
And so for us, we got that 40 acres, we got that mule, and yeah, we just to build some more acres and we just to put together some more mules. And if that looks
Yeah.
like black men coming together and saying we fist to open up all of these franchises across the United States of America where we are supporting survivors and at the same
Right.
time housing survivors on these 40 acres in California and in New York and in Massachusetts and in Kansas and in Florida and so on and so forth, right? If that's what that 40 acres and a mule looks like, then that's what that looks like.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Shabranae. Yeah.
Do it for my people.
Yeah. That's beautiful. All right, Shabranae. Tell us where we can shop with you, where we can donate. I need all the details because at this point, if y'all not pouring money into this woman's business, I don't know what you're doing with your life. For real.
I
Like
know. I
everything. You
appreciate you.
deserve that's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can reach us on all social media platforms at Anchored Inc. That's anchored with a
Mm.
D, specifically with a D, because people are out here. It's a lot of anchor people out here. So Anchored
Yeah.
D Inc.
Mhm.
You can also reach us on our website, www.anchoredinc.com. If you're trying to get in
Mhm.
contact with the foundation, whether you are wanting to support in some sort of way, or if you are in need of assistance, if you are a victim in need of assistance, you can reach us at anchoredinfoundation.org. And we will get with you within 24 to 48 hours confirmed to make sure you get what it is that you need. Um, yeah, that's how you reach us.
My gosh, I'm not gonna cry. Y'all, every day, every week, y'all be making me cry. I can't do this today, Shabranae.
Oh,
That's
don't be
beautiful.
crying. Don't be crying. No,
No,
oh,
it's beautiful.
this is
It's
a blessing though.
happy.
This is a blessing though. I'm glad that we get to talk with you because you out here putting in the work too. Um,
I'm trying,
this
girl.
show 40. You know what I mean? Like
This my 40.
this show
Yeah.
40 acres. You out here putting in the work too. And it may not look like that, but you out here
Mm,
putting in the work too. And as much as people are tuning in, chiming in, listening in, right? There is not one
right.
time that you have opened your mouth and you did not give wisdom to people who are in need of your services in terms of how to fund, how to move forward, and how to thrive and grow in business. And so, yeah, like 40 acres looks different for a lot of people. This is yours. And so I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of
Thank you, Shabranae. All right, I'm really not gonna cry. I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna link everything below, and you. I hope you. No, you need to. You need to donate at least. All right, donate what you can.
Appreciate
You
you.
guys 150. You can donate to a foundation that's actually doing great work in the space. So, thank you,
Appreciate
Shabranae. Appreciate you.
you. No problem.